All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I'm just going to go to the meeting room.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Nope. I'm going to do this. I should have gone to the right. Damn it!
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Do not alter without consulting whiteboard manager. There's a whiteboard manager? Meeting room. Marketing Monday! Hey! I didn't know this was an Atrioc game. Financial panic meeting. What to do about 432? Don't tell 432 about the meeting. Then get Chris out of the broom closet. What's Chris doing in the broom closet? Hire someone to synergize papers. Papers are too synergized. Fire paper guy. Hire somebody to fire the paper synergy guy. Charts need to be more hip to appeal to teenage demographic. Find teenagers to put in teenage demographic. Big net? Some sort of child trap? Well, that would get you children, not teenagers. What do people want? Things. I agree with that. I'm a person. I want things. Happy feelings. That was crossed out. So, okay, I don't want those things then. Money. Yes. More money. Yes. Things. But with money to buy more things? Agreed. Graphs about things plus money. We have our new product. The stock market is somewhere here. Colored in segment. That's true. That's a colored in segment. Stripes require more secondary research. They could just be bars. What is
Stanley
hot?
just stood there doing nothing at all. He seems to think I have nothing better to do with my time than to sit around and describe every fascinating little detail of his inability to do anything. This is why Stanley and I are on such good terms.
Yep. Numbers of slides on this slide. Charts and slides. This is maybe the best game ever created. Rate at which charts on the same slide depict this. Okay, we're just gonna keep going then. God, there was a lot to look at in that room.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
There's a car.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk?
That's true.
All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
I have thought
All of
that.
my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
That makes sense. That makes
What
sense.
a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid.
Yep.
So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
I'm flying!
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself. Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
But I was just flying.
Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up.
Wake up,
he thought to himself.
I thought to myself.
I'm through with this dream.
I'm through with this dream.
I wish it to be over.
I wish it to be over.
Let me go back to my job.
Yep.
Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife.
I have a wife?
And my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
I want that.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Everything.
I am okay.
Yep. It didn't work because I didn't close my eyes all the way.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My
Wake
name
me
is
up.
Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Oh. That's quite ominous.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Oh. I'm a woman now.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew.
Yep.
Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't.
So do I.
It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day.
It's important.
The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life.
Yep.
She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Am I me? Am I her? This game
I can't
is...
wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing.
The end is never the end. Is never... No.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
All right, let's go back to the board meeting room. We're going to go find the boss.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Whoa, why is it so nice in here? Why isn't my office like this? Executive bathroom. I might need to go.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked,
This is a huge
unraveled,
office.
Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Yep.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
It's quite clever of me to do that. Ah, back to the elevator.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
And if I can take over the mind control facility, then I can mind control everyone else. Nope, I'm the boss now. That's the new goal. I'm the boss.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Oh.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself.
Oh, that's where I was before.
Did he have the strength to find out?
Employee observation protocol. I watched the show Lost. I know what this is about.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
It's a metaphor
No.
for...
He refused
Nope.
to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never.
Never.
It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Maybe what's the last thing you remember doing outside?
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
I will? That doesn't sound like me. Do I have a choice in that? I feel like I should have a choice in that. There's a big red button. You never push the big red button, except that you really want to push the big red button. All right, where was the big red button? I want to press it. Oh, I can't push. I can't. It won't let me. All right. Okay, fine. Facility power. Mind controls idle, awaiting input.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power,
Off on.
he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
I didn't think anything was going to happen.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.